Dealing with people is often one of life's most complex challenges. Whether it's navigating workplace conflicts, resolving misunderstandings with loved ones, or addressing daily disagreements, these situations can test our patience and emotional balance. But what if there was a better way, one rooted in ancient wisdom, to approach these issues with calm, clarity, and purpose? That's where Stoicism comes in. This timeless philosophy offers practical strategies to not only manage conflicts but also strengthen relationships and foster inner peace. In today's video, we'll explore 9 transformative Stoic tips that will empower you to handle challenges with grace, build deeper connections, and emerge from conflicts feeling more centered. Stick around to uncover how Stoic wisdom can redefine the way you deal with people. Chapter 1. Pause before you react. When faced with conflict, our instinct is often to react emotionally, whether that reaction is fueled by anger, frustration, fear, or defensiveness. These emotions are natural, but they often cloud our judgment and lead us to say or do things that exacerbate the situation. The Stoics, however, offer a timeless antidote to this impulsivity: the power of pause. They remind us that we don't have to be prisoners of our emotions. Instead, we can choose to pause, reflect, and respond in a way that serves the greater good. The pause is deceptively simple, yet its impact can be profound. It begins with a conscious decision to stop and take a deep breath. This action is not just about calming yourself physically, it's about creating a mental reset. When you pause and breathe, you give your mind a moment to step away from the surge of emotion and regain clarity. This brief interlude allows you to interrupt the automatic reactive patterns that often lead to regrettable outcomes. Once you've created this space, the next step is reflection. Ask yourself a crucial question: is my reaction helping or hurting the situation? This single inquiry holds incredible power. It forces you to evaluate your intentions and consider the consequences of your words or actions. Are you about to say something constructive, or are you reacting purely out of emotion? Are you seeking resolution, or are you trying to satisfy your ego? By shifting your focus from emotional reactivity to rational assessment, you regain control over the situation. Imagine a scenario where a colleague publicly criticizes your work. Your immediate response might be to snap back defensively or lash out in anger. But if you pause and reflect, you might recognize that an emotional reaction could damage your professional reputation or escalate the tension. Instead, you could choose to calmly address the feedback, seeking clarification or offering your perspective. By responding thoughtfully, you not only maintain your composure, but also demonstrate emotional intelligence and maturity. The Stoics emphasize the importance of focusing on what is within our control. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." While you cannot control how others behave or what they say, you have complete authority over how you choose to respond. This realization is incredibly empowering. It shifts your mindset from being a victim of external circumstances to being the master of your internal world. The act of pausing before reacting also allows you to align your response with your values. Emotional outbursts often stem from a place of pride or insecurity, leading us to act in ways that contradict our principles. On the other hand, a thoughtful response reflects qualities like patience, kindness, and self-control, traits that build trust and respect in your relationships. Over time, consistently pausing before you react helps you cultivate a reputation for being calm, composed, and dependable, even in challenging situations. Pausing also has a ripple effect on your relationships. When you approach conflicts with a calm and measured response, it often encourages the other person to do the same. This creates an environment where open dialogue and mutual understanding can flourish. Conversely, reacting emotionally tends to escalate tensions and push people further apart. As you practice this habit, it will gradually become second nature. You'll find that pausing before reacting not only helps you navigate conflicts more effectively, but also brings a sense of inner peace. Instead of being ruled by fleeting emotions, you'll feel grounded in your ability to act intentionally and with purpose. Ultimately, the power of pause is not just a tool for conflict resolution, it's a way of life. It embodies the Stoic ideal of rationality, self-discipline, and harmony with others. In every conflict, there lies an opportunity to choose how you respond. By pausing, you unlock the potential to act with wisdom and grace, transforming not only the dynamics of the situation, but also your relationship with yourself and those around you. In this simple pause lies the key to living a life of greater peace, understanding, and fulfillment. Chapter 2. Focus on what you can control. In life, we often find ourselves confronted with situations that feel completely beyond our control. Whether it's dealing with someone's harsh words, facing a challenging circumstance at work, or navigating a difficult relationship, the external world can seem unpredictable and uncontrollable. It's easy to become frustrated, stressed, or even angry when we feel powerless over these events. However, the Stoics, particularly Marcus Aurelius, offer a liberating perspective. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This simple yet profound truth challenges us to stop obsessing over the actions of others or the outcomes of external events, and instead focus on what we can control, our own thoughts, emotions, and responses. When we focus on what we can control, we shift from a mindset of helplessness to one of empowerment. While we cannot control how others behave, how they treat us, or the events that unfold around us, we always have the power to control our reactions. This realization is freeing, as it removes the burden of trying to manipulate circumstances or change other people's actions. Instead, we begin to direct our energy and attention inward, recognizing that the only true control we have is over our own responses. Take, for example, a situation where a colleague criticizes you in a meeting. You may feel hurt, frustrated, or defensive, and your initial reaction might be to lash out in return. However, by focusing on what you can control, you can take a step back and choose a more thoughtful response. You can control how you react to the criticism, whether you let it affect your emotional state or respond calmly and professionally. The key here is recognizing that while you can't control the colleague's words or their tone, you can control your own attitude and behavior in the moment. By choosing to respond with composure, you demonstrate emotional maturity and maintain your peace of mind. This Stoic principle extends beyond conflict resolution. Whether you're faced with a challenging personal situation or a difficult decision, focusing on what you can control allows you to take purposeful action rather than feeling overwhelmed by circumstances. For instance, if you're facing a setback in your career, you can't control the timing of your success, but you can control the effort you put into improving your skills, networking, and staying motivated. Instead of dwelling on things outside your control, you focus on the actions you can take to improve your situation. By embracing the idea that we control our thoughts and actions, we also become better equipped to manage our emotional responses. When we obsess over what others do or how events unfold, we often react impulsively, letting our emotions dictate our behavior. However, when we focus on our own thoughts and responses, we gain the ability to choose how we feel and act. This emotional control leads to greater resilience and allows us to face challenges with a calm and clear mind. We no longer react from a place of frustration or helplessness. Instead, we respond with intention, guided by reason rather than emotion. Focusing on what we can control also fosters personal growth. It encourages us to take responsibility for our actions and attitudes rather than blaming external circumstances or others. This shift in mindset helps us develop the virtues of patience, self-discipline, and wisdom. For example, In a difficult conversation with a partner or friend, we may not be able to control their response, but we can control how we communicate and the tone we set for the discussion. By focusing on our own behavior and mindset, we improve the quality of our relationships and contribute to more constructive outcomes. Ultimately, focusing on what we can control is not about ignoring the external world or denying the challenges we face. Rather, it's about accepting that some things are beyond our influence and choosing to focus our energy on the things we can change, our reactions, attitudes, and behaviors. This shift in focus not only reduces stress and anxiety, but also empowers us to navigate life's obstacles with greater clarity and confidence. By recognizing that our true power lies within, we free ourselves from the frustration of trying to control the uncontrollable and open ourselves to a more peaceful and resilient way of living. Chapter 3. Seek first to understand. One of the core principles of Stoic philosophy is the importance of understanding before reacting, especially when it comes to conflict. More often than not, the problems we face in our relationships are a result of simple misunderstandings. We assume we know what others are thinking or feeling, which leads to unnecessary conflict. Instead of jumping to conclusions, Stoicism teaches us the power of truly listening. By channeling our inner Stoic, we can approach conflict with a clear mind and a willingness to listen deeply, fostering understanding and empathy. When we listen actively, we do more than just hear the words being spoken. We take the time to understand the emotions and intentions behind those words. This requires us to be fully present, setting aside our own thoughts, judgments, and assumptions. By doing this, we create a space for the other person to express themselves freely without fear of being misunderstood or judged. Listening with empathy allows us to gain deeper insight into the other person's perspective, which is crucial for resolving any conflict. An important aspect of active listening is asking open-ended questions. Instead of making assumptions about the other person's feelings or intentions, we can ask questions that encourage them to explain themselves further. For example, asking, "Can you help me understand why this is important to you?" Or, "How did this situation make you feel?" allows the other person to elaborate on their experience. This approach invites a more meaningful conversation and ensures that we are not merely reacting to surface-level information, but engaging with the deeper reasons behind their emotions or actions. Another Stoic practice that enhances understanding is repeating back what you've heard. This technique, known as reflective listening, involves paraphrasing or summarizing the other person's words to confirm that you've understood their point of view. For instance, you might say, "So what I hear you saying is that you felt hurt when I didn't follow through on our plan. Is that right?" By doing this, we validate the other person's feelings and show them that we are genuinely trying to understand their perspective. When people feel heard, they are more likely to be open to resolving the issue rather than becoming defensive or escalating the conflict. The Stoics remind us that we are not always in control of other people's actions or emotions, but we are in control of how we respond. By focusing on understanding rather than reacting impulsively or emotionally, we gain the ability to handle conflicts with greater wisdom and composure. This shift in focus helps us avoid misinterpretations and ensures that we are responding in a way that fosters connection and resolution. When we truly seek to understand, we are not just resolving a specific conflict. We are also building a foundation of trust and respect in our relationships. People are more likely to open up and engage in productive conversations when they feel understood. By practicing active listening, asking thoughtful questions, and reflecting back what we've heard, we create a safe space for dialogue, where both parties can express themselves honestly and work toward a solution together. In summary, seeking first to understand is a powerful tool for resolving conflict and building stronger relationships. By truly listening and engaging with others' perspectives, we foster empathy, reduce misunderstandings, and create an environment where resolution is more likely to occur. The Stoic practice of understanding before reacting not only leads to better outcomes in conflict, but also strengthens our emotional intelligence and our ability to navigate relationships with patience, wisdom, and compassion. Chapter 4. Let go of ego. Ego is one of the most insidious barriers to resolving conflict. When we let our pride or sense of self-importance dominate a situation, it clouds our judgment and fuels defensiveness. We become so focused on winning the argument or proving we're right that we lose sight of the true goal, resolving the issue and fostering understanding. The Stoics, however, teach us that humility is a powerful tool in conflict resolution. By letting go of our ego and approaching problems with a mindset of cooperation, we can navigate conflicts with wisdom and grace. One of the most transformative practices the Stoics encourage is to ask ourselves, am I trying to resolve this, or just trying to prove I'm right? This simple question cuts to the heart of many disagreements. It reminds us that, in a conflict, the ultimate objective is not to assert our superiority or be validated, but to find a resolution that benefits everyone involved. When our ego is at the forefront, we often prioritize winning over finding the truth or a fair solution. But when we let go of the need to be right, we create space for collaboration, compromise, and understanding. The Stoics, especially figures like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, consistently emphasized the importance of humility in navigating life's challenges. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reflected on the idea that life itself is not about personal glory, but about fulfilling our role as part of a larger whole. When we apply this Stoic wisdom to conflict, we see that we are not isolated individuals trying to protect our own image or sense of self-worth. Instead, we are part of a community, and our relationships with others should be rooted in mutual respect and cooperation. By putting our ego aside, we allow ourselves to focus on the issue at hand, rather than on how the resolution may reflect on us personally. One of the greatest barriers to resolving conflict is our attachment to being right. We can often fall into the trap of defending our position at all costs, even when it is not serving the greater good. This attachment to being right comes from a place of insecurity, as if our self-worth is directly tied to our opinions or actions. But the Stoics remind us that external circumstances, including the opinions of others, are beyond our control. Our true power lies in how we respond to situations, not in our need to assert dominance or prove ourselves. When we release our attachment to being right, we can approach conflict with greater openness and clarity. Humility is not about weakness or self-denial. It is about recognizing that our personal perspective is limited. There is wisdom in understanding that we do not have all the answers and that other viewpoints are equally valid. By letting go of our ego, we become more receptive to learning and growing from the conflict. We shift from a defensive posture to a problem-solving one, making it easier to find common ground and work toward a solution that benefits everyone involved. This shift in mindset is empowering because it moves us away from a win-lose mentality and into a win-win mindset, where the goal is shared understanding and resolution. Another key element in letting go of ego is practicing patience. When we're entrenched in ego, we tend to act impulsively, speaking over others, interrupting, or dismissing their views outright. This defensive behavior only escalates the conflict, but when we approach problems with humility, we are more likely to listen fully before responding, giving others the respect and space to express their perspectives. By letting go of the need to control the conversation, we create an environment in which everyone feels heard, valued, and respected. Ultimately, letting go of ego allows us to engage in conflict with a sense of purpose and clarity. Rather than being consumed by our need for validation, we approach the situation with a genuine desire to resolve the issue at hand. This approach leads to healthier, more collaborative relationships as it fosters an atmosphere of trust, empathy, and mutual respect. In doing so, we not only resolve the current conflict, but also build stronger, more resilient connections that can weather future challenges. The Stoic practice of letting go of ego reminds us that we are not defined by our opinions or our need to be right. By embracing humility, we allow ourselves to engage in conflict with a clear mind and an open heart, creating the space necessary for true resolution. In this way, we transform conflict from a source of division into an opportunity for growth, learning, and deeper connection. Chapter 5. Communicate calmly and clearly. In any conflict, how we communicate plays a crucial role in determining the outcome. Clear, calm communication can transform a potentially volatile situation into an opportunity for understanding, while poor communication can escalate tensions and make resolution nearly impossible. The Stoics, who valued reason over emotion, recognized the importance of speaking thoughtfully and with clarity, especially during times of conflict. By communicating calmly and focusing on the facts rather than the emotions, we can address the issue at hand without letting the conversation devolve into personal attacks or blame. One of the core principles in Stoic communication is the idea of separating the issue from the individual. The Stoics taught that we should focus on the facts and the situation rather than attacking the character or motives of the person we're in conflict with. When we speak in a way that emphasizes blame or accusation, the other person is likely to become defensive, and the conversation will quickly shift from problem-solving to a battle of egos. On the other hand, when we remain focused on the issue and communicate without blame, the other person is more likely to stay engaged and open to finding a solution. For example, instead of saying, "You always ignore my needs and never listen to me," which can make the other person feel attacked, a more productive approach would be to say, "I feel unheard when my concerns aren't addressed, and I'd like to find a way to better communicate." This shift in language takes the focus off the person's perceived flaws and centers the conversation on the issue that needs to be addressed. The Stoic approach encourages us to express our thoughts and feelings clearly, but without unnecessary emotional charge. This way, we maintain control over our own emotions and prevent the situation from escalating into a heated argument. The Stoics also emphasize the importance of self-control, especially in the way we communicate. In the heat of conflict, it's easy to let our emotions take over and say things we later regret. The Stoics, however, taught that we have the power to control our reactions. By taking a moment to pause and reflect before responding, we can ensure that our words are measured and intentional. As Marcus Aurelius famously said, "When you are about to say something, ask yourself, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind?" This simple rule can guide our communication, ensuring that we speak with purpose and respect rather than reacting impulsively. Another important aspect of clear communication is active listening. When we're engaged in a conflict, it's easy to start thinking about our own response while the other person is speaking. But the Stoic approach encourages us to listen fully, without judgment or interruption, before formulating our reply. This demonstrates respect for the other person's perspective and helps us better understand their concerns, which in turn allows us to respond more thoughtfully. Active listening also prevents misunderstandings, as we are more likely to grasp the underlying emotions and intentions behind the words being spoken. In addition to maintaining clarity and calm, the Stoics believed in speaking with a sense of objectivity. Rather than being driven by emotions, which can cloud our judgment, we should aim to communicate with a rational mindset. This doesn't mean we suppress our feelings entirely, but rather that we express them in a constructive and composed manner. By focusing on facts rather than the emotional turbulence of the situation, we can keep the conversation grounded and productive. This approach also helps us avoid exaggerating or distorting the issue, which often happens when emotions take control. Clear communication is also essential for creating a collaborative atmosphere in conflict resolution. When we speak calmly and with clarity, we invite the other person to do the same. This mutual respect sets the stage for a more constructive dialogue, where both parties feel heard and valued. It also helps to establish an environment where solutions can be discussed and agreed upon, rather than allowing the conversation to spiral into accusations and defensiveness. Ultimately, the Stoic approach to communication during conflict is rooted in reason, respect, and clarity. By separating the issue from the person, speaking calmly and without blame, and listening attentively, we create the conditions for meaningful dialogue and resolution. When we communicate with these Stoic principles in mind, we not only resolve conflicts more effectively, but also strengthen our relationships and foster greater mutual understanding. In a world where emotions often run high, the ability to communicate with calm and clarity is a powerful tool for navigating life's challenges with wisdom and grace. Chapter 6. Find common ground. In the heat of conflict, it's easy to get lost in differences and feel like there's no way forward. Emotions can cloud our judgment, and the desire to be right can take precedence over finding a solution. However, the Stoics remind us that even in the midst of disagreement, there is often something we can agree on. Focusing on these points of agreement is a powerful strategy for conflict resolution, as it shifts the focus from opposition to collaboration. By finding common ground, we create a foundation for understanding and cooperation, helping both parties work together toward a shared goal. Seneca, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, famously said, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness." This sentiment highlights the Stoic belief in recognizing our shared humanity, even when we disagree. In conflict, we often forget that both parties are ultimately seeking something similar, a resolution that brings peace and understanding. By identifying common values, concerns, or desires, we can build bridges rather than walls. The first step in finding common ground is to listen actively to the other person's perspective. Often, what we see as opposing viewpoints are simply different ways of expressing similar needs or emotions. For example, two people might be arguing over a work project, but when we listen carefully, it becomes clear that they both want the same outcome, a successful and timely completion. In this case, the conflict isn't about the goal, but about the approach or method for achieving it. By focusing on the shared objective, both parties can move from a stance of opposition to one of collaboration. Another way to find common ground is to focus on shared values or principles. Stoicism emphasizes virtue as the highest good, and at the heart of all human beings is the desire for a life of meaning, integrity, and fulfillment. Even if we don't agree on specific details or actions, we often share common values like fairness, honesty, or respect. By recognizing these shared values, we can approach the conflict from a place of mutual respect, rather than viewing the other person as an adversary. For instance, in a disagreement with a friend or partner, instead of focusing on what's dividing you, ask yourself, what do we both value? What are we both trying to achieve? This shift in perspective fosters a spirit of collaboration and opens the door for finding solutions that honor both sides. Finding common ground also requires humility, which is a central Stoic virtue. It means letting go of the need to be right or have the last word. By recognizing that we don't have all the answers and that the other person's perspective has value, we create an environment in which compromise and collaboration are possible. Humility allows us to see the situation from the other person's point of view, making it easier to identify areas of agreement. When both parties approach a conflict with the understanding that they can learn from each other, solutions are more likely to emerge. It's also important to remember that common ground doesn't always mean agreeing on everything. Sometimes it's about finding a shared goal or a mutual understanding that allows both parties to work together toward a solution, even if they don't agree on every detail. For example, two colleagues might have different ideas about how to tackle a project, but they both want the project to succeed and contribute to the team's success. By focusing on that shared goal, they can collaborate on finding a solution that incorporates both perspectives. The Stoic approach encourages us to take a broader view of the situation, seeing the conflict as an opportunity for growth and learning rather than a battle to win. By finding common ground, we open up the possibility for deeper connection, understanding, and cooperation. This mindset transforms conflict from something negative and divisive into something positive and unifying. Instead of seeing the other person as an obstacle, we begin to see them as a partner in the shared pursuit of resolution and peace. In summary, finding common ground is a key Stoic strategy for resolving conflict. By focusing on shared values, goals, and principles, we can shift the conversation from one of opposition to one of collaboration. Humility, active listening, and empathy are essential to this process, as they allow us to see the situation from a broader perspective. Ultimately, finding common ground helps to reduce division and creates an environment in which both parties feel heard, respected, and empowered to work toward a solution together. By embracing this Stoic principle, we can turn conflict into an opportunity for growth and connection, fostering stronger relationships and a deeper sense of understanding. Chapter 7. Embrace patience and perspective. In the midst of conflict, it's easy to feel like the issue at hand is urgent and demands immediate attention. Our emotions can escalate quickly, and we often find ourselves reacting impulsively, driven by frustration, anger, or a sense of urgency. However, the Stoic philosophers teach us the invaluable lesson of embracing patience and stepping back to gain perspective. By doing so, we can reduce the emotional intensity of a situation and approach it with clarity and wisdom. One of the central tenets of Stoicism is the idea that not all problems are as urgent as they may seem in the heat of the moment. The Stoics emphasize the importance of taking a step back to consider the bigger picture. Will this conflict matter a year from now? Will it have a lasting impact on your life or your relationships? Often, when we find ourselves in the middle of a disagreement, the emotions involved can cloud our judgment, making the issue feel far more pressing than it truly is. By asking ourselves these questions, we can put the situation into proper perspective and realize that many conflicts are temporary and manageable, not as catastrophic as we initially thought. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most well-known Stoic philosophers and Roman emperors, frequently reminded himself in his meditations to look at situations from a broader viewpoint. He often questioned the value of getting upset over trivial matters, recognizing that life is short and our energy is better spent on things that truly matter. When we face a conflict, it's easy to become fixated on the immediate discomfort or frustration we're experiencing, but Stoicism teaches us to take a longer view. By doing so, we can see that most problems are fleeting, and that our response to them is far more important than the conflict itself. Patience is a crucial aspect of this Stoic approach. In the heat of a disagreement, patience allows us to step back before reacting, giving us time to assess the situation rationally. Instead of rushing to defend ourselves or escalate the conflict, we can pause, breathe, and choose a measured response. Patience helps us avoid making decisions in the heat of the moment that we might regret later. It reminds us that we don't have to solve everything immediately, and that sometimes taking time to reflect can lead to better solutions and more thoughtful conversations. Perspective is equally important. By broadening our view, we can see that the issue at hand may be less significant in the grand scheme of things. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control everything in life, and many challenges are simply part of the human experience. By embracing this perspective, we learn to let go of the need for control and accept that conflicts are inevitable. The key is how we respond to them. By shifting our focus from the immediate emotions of the situation to the broader perspective, we become more grounded and less likely to overreact. When we broaden our perspective, we also open ourselves up to empathy. Understanding that everyone involved in a conflict has their own struggles, limitations, and perspectives helps us respond with greater compassion. Instead of seeing the other person as an adversary, we can approach them with the understanding that they, too, are human and imperfect. This shift in perspective not only reduces the emotional charge of the situation, but also fosters a sense of connection and cooperation, rather than division and antagonism. In practice, embracing patience and perspective can involve simple but powerful actions. It might mean taking a moment to breathe deeply before responding, asking yourself whether the issue is truly as important as it feels in the moment, or reflecting on how this conflict might look from a different point of view. It might also mean giving the other person time and space to process their emotions, rather than rushing to a resolution or pushing them to react quickly. By cultivating patience, we allow ourselves to respond thoughtfully and with wisdom, rather than reacting impulsively out of frustration or anger. Ultimately, embracing patience and perspective allows us to approach conflicts with a sense of calm and clarity. It helps us recognize that, while conflicts are a natural part of life, our response to them is what truly defines the outcome. By stepping back, broadening our view, and practicing patience, we can reduce the emotional intensity of a situation and make more deliberate, reasoned decisions. This Stoic approach not only leads to better conflict resolution, but also fosters greater emotional resilience and peace of mind. In a world that often encourages quick reactions and heightened emotions, the Stoic practice of patience and perspective offers a powerful tool for navigating life's challenges with grace and wisdom. Chapter 8. Set healthy boundaries. In the pursuit of personal growth and peaceful relationships, setting healthy boundaries is one of the most vital practices we can adopt. Stoicism teaches us not only to cultivate empathy and understanding for others, but also to protect our own peace and well-being. While patience, compromise, and understanding are crucial for resolving conflicts, it's equally important to recognize when someone's behavior is overstepping our personal limits. Setting boundaries is not about creating distance or hostility, but rather about asserting our self-respect and protecting our emotional health in the process of maintaining harmonious relationships. Stoics understood that while we cannot control the actions of others, we always have control over our reactions. Whether it's in the workplace, among friends, or within family dynamics, it's easy to let the behaviors of others affect our own peace of mind. Stoicism encourages us to realize that we have the power to define what we are willing to tolerate and what we are not. Setting boundaries is an acknowledgement of our right to protect our emotional and mental space, and it's an essential step in reinforcing our self-worth and resilience. At the heart of setting boundaries lies the principle of self-respect. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." This principle can be applied to relationships as well. We don't need to endure behaviors that negatively impact our mental and emotional well-being. By setting clear boundaries, we prevent ourselves from sacrificing our inner peace for external validation or approval. When we uphold our boundaries, we honor our own emotional health and maintain a sense of personal integrity. Establishing boundaries requires a delicate balance between firmness and compassion. It's not about becoming defensive or aggressive, but rather about communicating clearly and assertively what behaviors are unacceptable. For instance, if someone is constantly interrupting you in a conversation or a meeting, calmly but firmly express that you need space to speak without interruption. In personal relationships, if someone disrespects your time or energy, it's crucial to set boundaries regarding your availability and emotional investment. Setting boundaries shows others that you respect yourself, and it encourages them to treat you with the same level of respect. Additionally, healthy boundaries are not just about self-preservation, they are also an opportunity for healthier and more balanced relationships. When we set clear boundaries, we communicate our values and needs to others, giving them the chance to adjust their behavior in response. This fosters mutual respect and understanding, promoting stronger connections. Rather than rejecting others, boundaries invite transparency and collaboration. They allow both parties to maintain their individuality while fostering a deeper understanding of each other's needs. One of the Stoic principles that align with boundary setting is the idea of detachment. Stoicism teaches us not to let external circumstances dictate our emotional reactions. When we set boundaries, we create the emotional space necessary to remain detached from outcomes. If someone violates a boundary, we can address the situation without becoming overly reactive or emotionally involved. By maintaining control over our emotions, we reinforce our peace, regardless of how others behave. Lastly, it's essential to approach boundary setting with consistency and empathy. Setting a boundary once is not enough. We must be consistent in reinforcing it. If someone crosses a boundary, we must be prepared to reaffirm it and take the necessary steps to protect ourselves, whether that means limiting contact or re-establishing the terms of our relationship. Furthermore, the Stoic mindset encourages us to remember that everyone is on their own journey. Sometimes, others may not realize they've crossed a line, and boundary setting can provide an opportunity for growth and understanding on both sides. By approaching boundary conversations calmly, clearly, and with respect, we protect our peace while showing compassion for others. In conclusion, setting healthy boundaries is a crucial Stoic practice that allows us to maintain our peace and well-being while fostering positive relationships. It's an act of self-respect that ensures we don't compromise our emotional health for the sake of others. By embracing the Stoic principles of firmness, empathy, consistency, and detachment, we can set boundaries that protect our inner peace and create space for deeper, more authentic connections. Ultimately, boundaries are not about building walls, but about creating the necessary space for respect, understanding, and mutual growth. Chapter 9. Accept and move forward. One of the core teachings of Stoicism is the idea of accepting what we cannot change. Not every problem in life can be solved, especially when it involves the behavior or decisions of others. In such situations, the Stoics encourage us to recognize that our control is limited and that sometimes the most empowering choice is to let go of what's beyond our influence. This doesn't mean we should ignore problems or become complacent, but rather that we acknowledge the boundaries of our control and focus on what we can change, our thoughts, reactions, and responses. It's easy to become frustrated or resentful when a conflict with someone remains unresolved. We may feel that our efforts to communicate, compromise, or find a solution have been in vain. However, Stoicism teaches that carrying resentment or frustration only harms us in the long run. Holding on to negative emotions, especially when we have already done our best to address the issue, only drains our energy and prevents us from moving forward with peace of mind. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." If we hold on to resentment, we allow the situation to continue affecting our emotional state, even after the problem itself is no longer relevant. Instead, Stoicism advocates for a mindset of acceptance, understanding that not every outcome is within our control and not every conflict can be resolved in the way we would like. When we recognize this, we free ourselves from the unnecessary burden of resistance. Letting go of our attachment to a particular outcome doesn't mean we are giving up. It simply means we are accepting the reality of the situation and shifting our focus toward what's within our power, our inner peace, and our ability to move forward. When we practice acceptance, we also practice detachment. This is a key Stoic principle that encourages us to maintain emotional distance from external events and circumstances. By detaching ourselves from the need to control the outcome of a situation, we create space for personal growth and emotional freedom. This doesn't mean we stop caring about the issue or the people involved, but rather that we recognize when our emotional energy is better spent elsewhere. We learn to release the need for things to go exactly as we want and accept that life will unfold as it will. Moving forward after accepting what cannot be changed is an act of resilience. It requires us to refocus our attention on the present moment and on the aspects of our lives that we can influence. This could involve strengthening our relationships with others, continuing to work toward our goals, or simply focusing on our personal well-being. The Stoics remind us that life is full of ups and downs, and our ability to maintain peace in the face of adversity is what defines us. By accepting and moving forward, we reinforce our emotional strength and demonstrate our commitment to personal growth. In conclusion, accepting and moving forward is a Stoic practice that allows us to let go of frustration and resentment when conflicts remain unresolved. It teaches us to focus on what we can control, our own thoughts, reactions, and emotions, and to release what we cannot change. By adopting this mindset, we cultivate resilience, maintain our peace of mind, and continue progressing on our journey toward a fulfilled and peaceful life. Accepting the impermanence of certain situations empowers us to move forward with grace, clarity, and a renewed sense of inner strength. Conclusion. Conflicts and misunderstandings are an inevitable part of life, but with these 9 Stoic tips, you're now equipped to approach them with grace, wisdom, and emotional resilience. Stoicism teaches us how to navigate life's challenges with a calm mind and a clear perspective. Which of these strategies resonated with you most? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below and share your insights. If you found value in this video, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share it with anyone who could benefit from these Stoic principles. Thanks for watching, and remember, Stoicism is more than just philosophy. It's a practical guide to living a peaceful and meaningful life. See you in the next video.